Hitting the wall, blowing up, bonking, whatever you want to call it, is almost a rite of passage for cyclists, even though you probably didn't know what was happening at the time. A bit like me when I lost all periphery vision and nearly fell off.
Yeah, it's that feeling that we've all experienced at some point where you pretty much lose the ability very suddenly, extremely suddenly in fact, to turn the pedals at all. It happens to all of us at some point or another, however talented or experienced you are.
Be the other way around. Oh no, well. But what is hitting the wall exactly? Well, it's when your body runs out of glycogen, which is stored in the muscles and in the liver.
Yeah, and your body can actually only store a certain number of carbohydrates. For an average person, that will be around about 300 grams, which equates to 1,200 calories of energy. As soon as you start riding your bike, your body will start processing that carbohydrates into energy. And the faster you ride it, the quicker you are going to burn through them. Up to 800 calories an hour, in fact. So if you don't replenish anything, if you ride for long enough, you are eventually going to get to that point where you've got nothing left. You're going to feel hollow, extremely tired and exhausted, like you'd like to go for a sleep in the ditch on the side of the road, or perhaps even feel like rummaging around bins for some scraps of food.
Indeed. Well, now you know that, you need to know the best way to avoid it, because the good news is hitting the wall isn't actually inevitable. So here are 3 things to avoid you getting the bonk, and there are certainly 3 things that every cyclist or endurance athlete needs to know. Number 1, and arguably the most fundamentally important thing about cycling, especially for those very new to the sport, is that if you're considering going out on a ride of above 90 minutes, that you must consume some carbohydrates whilst on the move.
Yeah, that can be in the form of an energy drink, a jam sandwich, a cereal bar, or an energy gel. Anything, in fact, which allows the body to absorb some carbohydrates very quickly. That way you will never dip too far into your reserves of 300 grams of carbs, so you'll always have something left in the tank.
But unfortunately, it's not quite as simple as that, because your gut has a limit to the amount of carbohydrate it can absorb over a set period of time. So don't go thinking you can ride as hard and as long as you like, whilst just eating as much as you want to maintain perpetual motion.
No, that wouldn't be good. So the general consensus is that we can absorb about 60 grams of carbohydrates per hour. Now that's equivalent basically to 1 bottle of energy drink and an energy bar. So that is roughly what you should be looking to consume doing a sportive or a race. However, if we glance back at that original graph, what we'll see is that even if we do manage to consume 60 grams of carbohydrates per hour every hour of our ride, we will still inevitably hit the wall at some point, albeit quite a bit further down the road. Now that brings us on to point number 2, which is pacing.
Yeah, this is what probably catches out even the most experienced riders, and we've all done it, and that's biting off just a little bit more than we can chew. So going a bit too hard in the group, staying with a faster group over the top of a climb and digging deep, or even half-wheeling one of your best mates. Now we get that, but if you're planning a long ride, you need to be sensible, so you don't blow your doors off.
Yeah, riding at a very slightly slower pace will mean that your body is actually consuming less energy per hour. It also actually makes it easier to eat and drink whilst you're riding. Now we know it's not always possible, but using this strategy will almost always ensure that you reach your finish line in the fastest time possible.
The final point is to make sure that your glycogen stores are as full as they can be before you go out on your ride. That's called carbo loading.
Yeah, although carbo loading does have to be done in the right way. It's not simply a case, Matt, of eating a kilogram of pasta the night before your event. It's actually a fairly slow 2-day process in which you're supposed to have 8 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of body weight extra than you would do normally for those 2 days. Oh, and it doesn't mean eating junk food either. You have to have quality carbohydrates such as rice, pasta or oats.
Now, there is a downside to carb loading, and it's worth paying attention, especially if you race. So for every 1 gram of carbohydrate stored in your body will store a further 2 grams of water, so you will put on just a little bit of weight.
Yeah, that probably won't matter for you if it's a sportive event which you're doing, where you can just take things relatively easy at the start and you will burn that excess weight off, and also the fact that you're a bit more hydrated could probably help you in the long run. However, if it's a race you're doing and it's got a significant climb towards the start, it might be something which you should bear in mind. So the pros, for example, it's often a balance between over and under fueling depending on what they want to achieve on a particular day. So avoiding the dreaded bonk actually isn't particularly complicated at all. You just need to fuel well before your ride and during your ride, and also have an effective pacing strategy for the ride itself. And if you think you're someone that might forget to fuel regularly on the ride, simply set yourself some alarms or reminders on your phone or on your head unit on your bike, which are going to remind you.
Yeah, but I guess you can always console yourself if you do blow by telling tales of immense survival to your mates at the cafe and getting bragging rights in the process. Because let's face it, everybody remembers their first bonk.
Indeed. Anyway, if you'd like some more content here at GCN, if you look just up there, that video is all about cycling mistakes. In fact, there are 10 of them.
There certainly are. And if you fancy having a quick peek inside a professional rider's musette, we've got a video just down here from the Giro d'Italia.
Yeah, and to subscribe to GCN, just click the little box in the middle here.